Hi, I'm Ron.
And I'm Don.
And this is the Ron and Don Show. Thank you for joining us today. Our topic today is yellow grease, and we are very pleased to have our sponsor, SLM, today. Beth with SLM, thank you for being here. Welcome.
Thank you for having me. Good morning.
Tell us a little bit about SLM.
SLM is a nationwide full-service facilities management company, and we are also a leader in the nation in grease waste services.
Well, we talk about yellow grease. What is yellow grease?
Yellow grease is the terminology I would say that a restaurant or facilities manager would relate to is used fryer oil.
Now, to a certain extent, we have to get that fryer oil somehow from the fryer to some sort of a facility. And one of the ways is we use a caddy.
Correct.
And you guys will provide or sell the caddy.
Yes.
And then there's a piped system. How does that work?
The pipe system is what we generally call a direct connect.
Exactly.
So that is piped directly into the restaurant and is hooked directly to the fryers.
And there's a tank either outside or in the building.
Yes, that's correct. It's all space configuration of where they can place it, but it directly connects to the fryer is, in my opinion, the best way to collect used fryer oil to get the biggest result on the end when you submit it for recycling, because it goes straight in. There's really not a lot of pollutants that are going through. It will, any type of food particles, it will halt it from going through because it's a thin pipe that goes to it or a hose. So it does give you more pure used fryer oil on the backside.
So for that particular system, you can either use a caddy to get it to a spot, or it can be piped directly from the fryer to the tanks.
Yes.
And then there's freestanding tanks, which have been around forever, which the lids are oftentimes opened or...
We run into a lot of variables with the outside tanks. We have some locations, unfortunately, you'll find in more populated areas where we even have to do drum service, the barrels, the 55-gallon drums. Those are a real nightmare only because some have a lid, some don't. The lids get left off. You will find everything from trash, debris. We found, unfortunately, dead animals in some of them. The larger tanks, the lid is attached. However, you have somebody going out, you have to dump it into that tank at the end of an evening after the shift is over. It can be spilled along the way, overflow the tank. There are grates. There's a lid grate that's there that they're supposed to dispose it in too, that's supposed to catch debris and trash. We also have a problem with any of the debris and trash that's in the oil coming from the restaurant to the tank. That gets junked up in that grate, and then they can't dump any more oil into the tanks. So there's a wide area of pollutants that can get into the fryer oil with that method of disposal.
Talk to me about transporting that oil. You pick it up, you have some regulations that you have to adhere to just to take that off property.
That is correct. They do have to be a licensed hauler.
Is there any documentation that is required when that's being taken to be treated or handled?
If the vendor that's picking up is taking it to a recycling facility, yes, they will get some documentation that they have actually disposed it at that recycling facility, much like brown grease, similar situation. We do have several vendors out there now because the recycling of the used fryer oil has really boomed over the last 15 years. They have actually started expanding their businesses to have a recycling facility on their premises. So a lot of the vendors that we put in place that are actually out collecting the oil from the restaurants are taking it back to their own facility and recycling it.
And what uses are there beyond, I mean, we're using the word recycle. What does that mean? Where's it going and what is it then becoming?
It is a chemical recycling process, and the outcome can be, it does go into some feed.
Animal feed.
Animal feed, okay. Correct. It is also being recycled into biodiesel fuel, and there are some areas where it's going into for fuel for energy as well.
They still use it for cosmetics?
No.
Okay.
No, or they shouldn't be, let's put it that way.
There was a time.
They were. I don't think that's as prevalent as it was. They're even kind of a little bit getting away from the feed aspect as well. The changes and the growth in that recycling process is really more, I would say, focused on the biodiesel and the usable energy.
Well, we've already talked a little bit about the importance of the quality of the waste oil and protecting that quality from debris and all that kind of stuff. And that affects the price that you get when you take it to be recycled. And isn't this somewhat of a commodity? Doesn't the price fluctuate a lot?
Yes, absolutely, yes.
And what makes it fluctuate?
What makes it fluctuate is market value, and that is by region. And SLM does track that for our clients so that we ensure that they are getting the best yield and the pricing for the yield of the oil that they are disposing. There are differences in the type of oil that you get from different types of restaurants. So a higher grease producing restaurant is going to produce more volume, but also can produce a higher yielding oil. So what that means is, we were talking about the tanks outside. It's crucial that they are just disposing the oil in those tanks, and to be very cautious of putting any trash or debris, food particles, because that will affect the end result. When it's taken to the recycling facility, what they're looking for is the purest part of the oil. That's what they're using to recycle. With the commodity side of it, because of the way the fryer oil industry has now started tracking this as a commodity, is there's a return. There's a return to the restaurants that SLM will also track. We do quarterly reporting for all of our restaurants on where the market is, the bulk gallonage of oil that they are disposing. What happens in that instance is then we're getting a rebate back. So the vendors that are picking it up and using it to recycle, they're paying us and our clients back for providing that oil for them.
And that'll affect whether the restaurant gets money.
Correct.
Or potentially has to pay money to have this hauled away.
The main factors are the quality of the oil when it's picked up. If there's a lot of pollutants or debris, that of course is going to lower the return, and also based on the market, where the market value is at the time.
Okay, now the restaurants, I've had some that get addressed by local people that want to just come in with their pickup truck and a drum and empty out their containers because they want to use it for biofuels.
Yes.
Why not?
Yes, SLM ran into a lot of instances like this many years ago when the market on the used fryer oil really boomed. What happened was you had a lot of people, because the fact that if you take the oil to a disposal facility and a recycling facility, they're paying for it. So we did have several instances where you may have some gentlemen, literally like Don said, on a pickup truck coming to the restaurant and saying, hey, I'll pay you guys under the table, I'll pay you this if you let me take your oil. Well, unfortunately, one, they're not licensed to do it. They're not a licensed provider. And the restaurant itself is responsible for that used fryer oil from pickup to disposal facility. So some of the instances we ran into where they load this in the back of their pickup truck, they spill it in the parking lot of the restaurant. That's the restaurant's responsibility. They drive down the street, the barrel dumps off. That's the restaurant's responsibility, and can get backtracked to them, they can be fined.
And technically, that's an EPA violation.
That is correct, yes.
So that's the Justice Department, folks, in any event. So to get top dollar and protect yourself, SLM.
Let SLM do it, yeah.
Beth, thanks for joining us today. I'd like to thank SLM as well. We greatly appreciate you being here and helping us understand a little bit more about yellow grease.
Thank you so much for having me.
And I appreciate you being here very much. You're a quality vendor that I've used for years and been on my speed dial. Thank you for being here and being our sponsor.
Thank you very much.
I'm Ron.
And I'm Don.
And I'm Beth with SLM.
This is the Ron and Don Show. Thanks for joining us today.
Subscribe for free.